Hey everyone, in today's video, I'm going to talk about the three biggest difficulties I've faced in my entrepreneurial journey over the last 4 years as a tech founder. And these are things I wish I sort of knew going into it. You always hear everyone talk about how hard entrepreneurship is and how it's so much harder than like working a job or something like that. So I want to give you a bit of insight into what some of those difficulties are. And the three things I'm going to focus on today are going to be things that are not technical. They're not related to like the tech side of things. I will probably do a video like that tomorrow, talking purely about the technical aspects of things. But today it's just going to be about the business/personal side of things. So if you find value in this, make sure you subscribe, leave a comment, and let me know what you want to hear more about startups or anything you're interested in that I might be able to talk about. The very first thing, and probably the thing that will plague you for a lot of time until you really find that product market fit, is the constant amount of existential crises you're going to face. You will probably have a very basic idea of your company's brand when you first start the company, but as you talk to more customers, as you spend more time building products and wondering whether or not you're actually building the right thing, you will intermittently encounter a bunch of existential crises. You're going to be like, am I doing the right thing? Am I working in the right industry? Are we building the right thing? Are we targeting the right customer? Is this really the most profitable thing we can be after? Am I wasting my time by doing this? Are there other opportunities out there that we could be doing instead? Is this too much opportunity cost? And I guarantee you, those things will be there over and over and over again. And the toughest part is sometimes you might be right. Maybe it is time to pivot. Maybe it is time to put focus into other things of the bit, like other aspects of the business or other aspects of the market or niche that you might be in. Maybe sometimes you're targeting one problem for a customer when in reality, that could be a tar pit idea, an idea that can't really go anywhere and it's doomed to fail from the beginning. Whereas if you were to target a different idea, maybe even in the same sector, it could turn out working differently. And you're constantly going to have to be defending yourself against these ideas and these thoughts because they're going to come up really often. It's actually super timely because the YC channel on YouTube just released another episode with Dalton and Michael where they talk about when to use your gut. And the sort of TLDR is there's like no one size fits all solution, but if you have a lot of domain expertise, a lot of the times maybe you should trust your gut or have more faith in what your ideas are. Of course, that doesn't mean don't talk to any customers, but you probably have more leeway to trust what you think as opposed to having to validate every single little thing. Where the opposite is true if you don't have as much domain expertise in the area that your business is in. So that gives me a little bit of solace, but if you really want to understand when you should know if an existential crisis is truly real and you should probably pivot to something, I recommend also watching their video on pivoting. Dalton has a great video on that. He's like known as the king of pivoting. So I sort of use that as a benchmark. But in my personal experience, a lot of the times I have more regret when I don't pivot in time and I spend too much time doing the wrong thing instead of listening to what people actually have to say. And there were times where I'll overfit to data and just pivot my entire company because someone said one thing. I think there's a fine line between pivoting because you heard one thing and hearing the same thing over and over again, the same feedback again and again, and not doing anything about it. So you sort of have to learn how to walk that fine line. Now, the second biggest thing I think that makes entrepreneurship hard, especially as a founder, is the constant state of being on. If you are serving customers, which if you have a business, somebody's probably paying you, you don't get things like weekends off a lot of the times, depending on what industry you're in. You don't get night times where you can just not respond to people, at least not in the beginning. Early attraction is so important, and building that trust with your users is so important that, yeah, you could like ghost them and not reply until the next day if they have an issue. But more often or not, that relationship is going to be super valuable to you, and not replying when you have the opportunity to is definitely something that might hinder your business over the long term. And that doesn't mean that you should be working 24/7. It just means you should expect to have cases where maybe the site goes down and it's 2 o'clock on a Friday and you have to wake up early on Saturday to go do something with your family or something. And cases like that happen, and you will have to sort of sacrifice personal time here or there. You shouldn't do it on a basis to the point where you start to burn out and it is just completely controlling your life. You do need boundaries, but you should understand those boundaries are going to be a lot more flexible and a lot less time framed than if you were to work a regular 9 to 5 job, where as soon as 5 o'clock might hit, if you're not that dedicated to the company or something like that, you can just close your laptop, walk away, and just get it out of your mind until the next day. A lot of the times you are always going to be on, even when you're trying not to, you're going to be thinking about the business. You're going to be thinking about what you have to do next, what you should have done, what you have the opportunity to do, but not the time to do, whether or not a customer likes it, where you're going to acquire your next customer. There's just so much on time in your brain. You really have to learn how to balance that out for yourself. And that's not something that we learn natively in school and stuff like that. We sort of learn how to follow instruction and how to allocate a certain amount of time to studying, a certain amount of time for our classes, or if you're working, a certain amount of time to your job. You really sort of have to get yourself in a state of mind where you control your life. You control your day, you structure your day properly, you control sort of what you think about when you know you shouldn't be thinking about the business, and when you know you should allow yourself to sort of hop onto things if anything ever comes up. It's a lot of self-discipline and a lot of like monitoring so that you don't burn out, but you're also spending enough time to actually make this thing work and kick itself off the ground before you're a big company and you can afford to sort of take all that time off. And that leads me naturally into the third thing, which is the idea that when you start a business and you're the co-founder, you wear all the hats. You don't have the luxury of, outsourcing this and that. A lot of, I guess, founders will try to do things like outsource all the tech part if they're not a technical founder, or outsource the sales by hiring salespeople. And that's one of the biggest mistakes I made in my last business. Was at the beginning, everything you do should be focused on like what matters to grow the business. It should be things that revolve around finding product market fit. And those things are so important that you cannot possibly outsource that to anyone other than, let's say, for example, your very first employee / founding engineer or founding like salesperson. But even before that, you should be doing the majority of it by yourself until you get to the point where you literally just cannot keep up with it. It is so important to experience your business from all sides and wear all the hats. If you are a brand new business, nobody cares about the business like you do. Nobody has skin in the game like you do. Even if you pay people and give them a percentage of the company, you are the one who really thrives or doesn't thrive if the business succeeds or doesn't succeed. So it sort of all comes down to you, and you need to understand how to wear all the hats. That way, when you're at least hiring way down the line, when you have revenue or if you get funding, you sort of know what to look like in hiring someone. I know we had a lot of things where we hired people and to do jobs that we never got a chance to do ourselves, and it sort of made it hard for us to assess whether they were doing well at the role or not. And it's also really important to have that sort of ear to the ground level in your business. When we started our last business, we took care of all the coding, and we were like, you know what, we'll hire someone to do all the customer outreach and all the sales. So we hired somebody, and while that person was great at doing what they did, it sort of kept us a layer away from our customers. We didn't get to talk to our customers firsthand. We didn't really experience the pain they were experiencing. We couldn't get the direction that we needed to get from them because we had somebody in between us and the customer. And it sort of made it hard for us to understand what they were going through and truly sort of feel akin with our customers and get the feedback that we needed to slowly arrive to product market fit. We weren't thinking of anything like that. We were just thinking like, oh, I made the thing. Maybe I'm going to like hire someone to, sell it because I'm not a salesperson. I'm going to get someone to market it. I might hire someone to like do the customer support. At the beginning of the business, for a good little while, you are all those people, and you sort of have to be all those people because it keeps you grounded. It keeps you in tune with what's going on in the business, and you're the one that is going to do it the best. Even if someone is far more trained in sales than you are, learn how to sell your product, because you're eventually going to have to learn how to sell it to your employees anyways if you want to make sure that they are on board with your vision and if you want them to care about what you're doing and your mission as much as you do. And those are the three biggest things, the three things that make starting a startup so much harder than just working a regular job, that you should be ready to embark on if you're embarking on this journey, and be ready to handle. So tomorrow I'll probably do the technical version of this list. And if you enjoyed this content, make sure you subscribe. It helps a ton with the algorithm if you leave a comment and tell me what you guys want to see in future videos. And I'll see you in the next one.